All right, I see audio connected, audio connected, audio connected. And we're still waiting for one to connect. What's going on,
Mine's
guys? I'm excited to have you all
Hi,
here.
everybody.
Hey, Jen. What's going on? We got Amanda over here, Veronica, Kristen. Still waiting for Emily to get her audio. What's going on here? Guys, let me know how your day has been. You could drop it in the comments below just to get this kind of started. How has your day been so far? I'm going to give a bit of a framing for what we're going to be doing here, what this conversation is going to be about, and what we're going to do by the end of it. And just feel free if you guys have any questions to drop them in the chat down below so that you can remember it, because we're going to leave some time at the end here for Cherokee to do some Q&A if you guys want to do that. To frame this a little bit, I wanted you guys to have someone who I have the utmost confidence in, having gone through what all of you are going through without any exaggeration. This is why I picked Cherokee. I'm like, holy shit, there's no one better who's gonna. I'm not blowing smoke. I'm like, there's no one who's gone through all of the crap, from the emotional stuff to the health side of things to just all of the things, than this woman here. And more than that, she's to a place now where she's feeling happy and fulfilled and like a lot more in control of her life emotionally. So I really just wanted to give her the floor, give her an opportunity to explain how she's got from here to there using the things that we've talked about. So at the end of this, if you guys have any questions, we'll just have a good session and get all your questions answered. Does that sound good? Everyone, thumb up. You can say it sounds terrible if you feel that way. I mean, we're good with that too. What's up, Natalie? Good to see you. Emily, Jesus Christ, my phone almost flew off the table. Emily is still trying to get connected. Let's hope she can hear us. Without further ado, so I'll give a quick introduction. This is my friend and past client, Cherokee Davidson, or Storm, as you guys see her. I harassed her for like, I don't know, a year and a half online because I like building relationships online. Eventually, she's like, hey, I might, use your help. And it's been history since. And now we're just like really, really, really good friends. So I'm happy to have her here. And Cherokee Storm Davidson, want to take it away? Introduce yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, ladies. Hi. I think we're all ladies here, right? Let me see. Yeah, looks like it. All right. So, I am Cherokee Storm Davidson, and yes, that is my real name. I am a fitness coach for vegan women. In fact, Tyler has actually helped a lot of my fitness clients, as well. So it's funny, we've kind of shared a few clients over the years. And Tyler also helped me back in, gosh, was it 2021 now? 2022? I forgot. It was a long time ago, 2 to 3 years ago. Um, with a lot of stuff that I was going through, especially when I was first building my business, as far as like my mental health goes. So, Tyler, if you want me to just like jump right into telling my story, that's what I'll do, unless you have a question or somewhere you'd like me to start.
Not at all. Give hers. Guess there's more than one here. The background and just whatever feels right for you. Take it
Yeah.
away.
Sounds good. So I'm 29 years old. I'm going to be 30 in a couple months, and everyone keeps reminding me of that fact, not realizing that I'm very excited to turn 30. Um, and I'm going to use a lot of quotations as I talk, and there's a reason for it. And Tyler makes fun of me sometimes for it because he's like, you don't need to use quotations around me, but I can't help it. So my mental health struggles started very early on when I was a teenager. I was struggling with anxiety, depression. Panic attacks was a big one when I was a teenager, and that's kind of how I learned even what anxiety and panic attacks were. And because I didn't really understand them or know what they were, I didn't know how to explain it to other people, and I really didn't get help for them or understand why it was happening or what was going on. So I thought there's something wrong with me. And when I say I was having panic attacks, I was actually having I was having night terrors, full blown like hyperventilation, panic attacks from the time I was 16 forward. Um, and I was actually diagnosed in my early 20s while I was in the military. So I joined the military at 18. While I was in the military, I was diagnosed with clinical depression, generalized anxiety, and PTSD some years later. So I was actually diagnosed with PTSD after my ex-husband tried to kill me 2 times in a row. So that was super fun. I use a lot of sarcasm too, so don't mind me. So that was a very interesting part of my life. So my ex-husband tried to kill me. I actually ended up in jail after that, which, you know, when Tyler says I've been through it all, I really have. I actually ended up in jail after that, because that little sneaky son of a bitch manipulator guy that I was married to managed to turn the story around after I had been nearly strangled to death and got me sent to jail. So that was fun too. And after all of this crap happened, I got diagnosed with all these fun things: clinical depression, anxiety, panic disorder, PTSD, and I'm sure there was a couple other things too. I'm not gonna lie, I honestly don't remember. I have been to a lot of psychologists to help me because I was still having these panic attacks. I honestly felt down. I would say 80 to 90% of the time, and that's not an exaggeration, I have been on multiple different pills. I actually worked in the pharmacy industry when I was in the military. And so that was a very interesting way to learn about what I was putting into my body when I was being prescribed all of these pills. And those pills did not help, nor did they do well for my body at all. So my mission since my mid-20s, or early 20s, I should say, is to come off of medication for my mental health and my physical health, which I'll get to in a second, and learn how to manage these things or completely get rid of them on my own. Like, that has been my mission since my early 20s. And my motivation for that was I was just tired of feeling like fucking shit all the time. I was tired of being depressed. I was tired of feeling anxious. I was tired of having panic attacks. I was tired of feeling groggy. I was tired of feeling bloated. I was tired of being tired. I was tired of everything. And I was not willing to let that be my fucking life anymore. I was just so sick of it after going through years of being beaten physically and emotionally and dealing with depression and anxiety and all of these other things that come with it on top of my physical health. I was just over it. So as far as my physical health, you guys, I know Tyler said a lot of you guys are dealing with like physical symptoms. Who here is like dealing with any type of like scary health dilemma, physical symptoms? Like, I'm just curious, like how much of us are actually like between, it could be something as simple as dizziness or vertigo, not saying that those aren't serious things, or it could be something like seizures, which I also, you know, have, or, you know, whatever it might be. So it seems like pretty much everyone, right? So when I was deployed overseas in 2017, I actually started getting some really scary neurological stuff going on with my body. So I stopped being able to feel the left side of my body, and I wasn't able to walk. And I was getting constant numbness, tingling, spells of vertigo, dizziness, and I was actually passing out while I was in the middle of the desert overseas on a military deployment. So obviously that's not safe. And I was being pushed pills that were making me worse. They actually gave me a pill that I was allergic to, and that made it even worse. I ended up with a kidney infection while I was in the middle of the desert. And because of the medications they were putting me on, it actually weakened my bones, and I ended up getting a really bad fracture in my tibia, and I was on crutches in the middle of the fucking desert and bleeding from a kidney infection, while also nobody knew why I was passing out and having numbness and tingling in the left side of my body. So from 2017 until now, I have still been dealing with all of those symptoms. They did not go away. I have not fixed them, right? My physical symptoms, in fact, they've gotten much worse. And Tyler can attest this because he's seen it in many different scenarios and environments. I have seizures, and I'm not saying that they're like fleeting. I mean, I have seizures a few times a week. I have I have a lot of neurological stuff that doesn't allow me to function very well. The fact that I've been able to talk this long without stuttering too much or losing my train of thought is a miracle. And I warned Tyler of this before I got on the Soon training. I was like, "Are you sure you want me to do the Soon training? I can't talk very well sometimes." And all those slew of things. And with all this shit going on, you would think I would be like a nervous fucking wreck that was afraid to leave my house, that, you know, wasn't in, good shape like I am. I still work out as much as I possibly can. My goal is to work out 4 to 5 times a week lifting weights. I was a competitive bodybuilder. I still bodybuild, right? And that doesn't mean that I'm fucking perfect, but I get it done, right? And I don't pressure myself to do things. The point that I'm trying to make here, you guys, is it started, I will say, with Tyler's coaching. So when I reached out to Tyler, I forget what year it was, 2021. I think it was 2021, which means it was 3 fucking years ago. That's fucking insane. I
I'm
reached
gonna
out
just
to
say real quick.
Tyler.
I'm just
Yeah,
gonna say that that blows my mind.
I know.
That's
That's
all. That's
crazy.
literally all I want to say. It's just keep going.
It's okay. You gave me an excuse to drink water. Okay. So yeah, I started working with Tyler back in February of 2021. I know it was February, which was exactly 3 years ago. Yeah, that's crazy. And the reason I started working with him is because I was just having these like cyclical crashes of depression. That's what I called it when I messaged him. I was running my own business. My husband's a co-owner of our business. I was running myself ragged while dealing with my mental health. I was dealing with flashbacks. I was dealing with panic attacks. I was dealing with my seizures at the same time. I was dealing with attacks from my neurological disorder, which would leave me immobile for 1 to 2 to 3 days at a time, where I could not walk on my own, and my husband would have to assist me to the bathroom and pull down my pants for me to pee. So I was dealing with all of this at the same time, and then I would crash almost like clockwork every Sunday. And I would get so depressed that I couldn't move off of the couch. At least that's what I told myself. And so I messaged Tyler and I said, I can't fucking do this anymore. I need help. Like, I don't care what hoops I have to go through for you to be my coach. I was like, I need someone to teach me how to navigate this. And I knew he wasn't going to pop me a pill or give me some dumb ass advice about meditating, which is why I picked him, because I didn't want someone to give me something to spend my time doing that was going to make me feel better in the moment. I wanted someone to just like rip my soul out and like just be like, do this, and then put it back into my chest and be like, cool, I know how to handle this now. Like, I needed someone to give me the fucking tool so I could do it on my own. And that's what Tyler did for me. And it took 3 sessions. I remember that. It took 3 sessions for my panic attacks to disappear. And it took 3 sessions for my anxiety to be gone, because I actually implemented every dumb fucking tool that you gave me that I did not want to do, between sticking my finger in my nose, dancing around like a fucking unicorn. I remember that one. Faking my panic attacks in front of my husband, which is super fucking awkward. And I also faked a seizure once, just for shits and giggles, to see how that would feel. That was interesting as well. And I remember about a year and a half after I finished with Tyler, I was faced with one of my biggest anxiety triggers that I used to have, which was driving through the mountains, where there was like no there's basically no, like, what are those things called? Guardrails? Is that what they're called in America, Canada? I don't know. The guardrails on the side of the road. One of my biggest like triggers was like being on a road where I thought I was going to get hit by a car, or I thought our car was going to like fall off the side of the cliff or whatever. And we were taking my daughter to a trip in the mountains to camp and be at the top of a mountain and all this crazy stuff. And we were driving up there, and that is something that would have thrown me into a full-blown panic attack in the past, for like head between knees, screaming at my husband to not tell me what was going on. Like, it used to be a whole ordeal. And I moved through it without a single fleeting notion of anxiety. And that is like when I knew, I was like, holy shit, Tyler's dumb ass fucking sticking your finger in your nose and pretending like I'm a unicorn and dancing around like actually fucking worked. And it just like, still to this day, I'm amazed, because that's like when it really hit me. And I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Tyler, because I'm rambling a lot.
No, that's okay. I love it. So far, there's no context, and I was about to write in the chat that you make me sound like a psychopath, but I'm okay. If any or all of these women and people in the future, hey everybody, so glad to have you here, are watching, the only way that someone would be in this program is if they know that my shit is strange, to say the least. So no, it's okay. I love that. And one of the coolest things I think about your story is I didn't even know half of the things you'd been going through yet, until like, I don't know, months after we had even became friends, let alone your time in the program was even over. I didn't know anything about your husband almost like taking your life. I didn't know about a lot of the health things to the degree that it was. We were on one of our sessions about 4 or 5 in to make, for the conditioning process, etc. And at one point I was like, Cher, are you okay? Because you're just staring off into space, and I didn't realize it was a seizure. I didn't realize you were going through a mini seizure. So the reason I bring this piece up is because there is a difference between, and this is what I would love for you to touch on, by the way, next,
Yeah.
is there's the difference between the things you had gone through, whether it be like physical trauma to some degree or like a health condition, which, by the way, everyone in this program knows that my program is not for is going to help you, or is not going to help you with like actual medical like health challenges, right? It's about the emotions that we're feeling regularly while pushing through the daily life struggles. And I didn't know half the things you were going through, and yet with you implementing these stupid little things, you were still able to get through it and feel emotionally in control and fulfilled. That's, I think, like the biggest piece here. Now, I know they're going to have questions. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I know they're going to have questions eventually.
Oh,
But
that's
until then,
fine.
I would love for you to go into that piece. Like, how is it that emotionally you do so well day to day when you have all of these pieces and components? I'd love to talk about that for a
I
minute.
smile just thinking about like how much like of a tornado my life is, and the fact that I still like I was so excited to come on this call. I was excited just to wake up and drink coffee this morning. Like just so fucking excited. Like I don't know. And it's just I just makes me smile, and I'm just like gosh. Like and I had a seizure earlier too a few hours ago. And today's been such a good fucking day. Like seriously, it really really has. Even though I was immobile in a chair for an hour, and like my husband actually was gone doing something, and I was like, this is great. Guess I'm by myself. So that was fun. But yeah, what you said is actually really important. The fact that I didn't tell you everything I was going through. I didn't want to, and there's a reason for that. So on our first session, me and Tyler, we figured out that, and I'm sure Tyler's taught you guys this, we figured out that one of my highest values or highest human needs, I'm sorry, highest human needs was significance. And that a lot of the things that I was doing through my anxiety and even a little bit through my medical conditions, just how it was acting in response to my medical conditions, I should say, not the actual condition itself. A lot of the things that I were doing was to fill that need for significance. And as soon as I learned that from Tyler, I accepted that, right? And I was like, I'm okay putting my ego aside and being like, cool. I didn't know I was doing this. It's okay. It's not me, right? But my like, whether you want to call it like your childhood self or your subconscious or whatever you want to call it, I knew that that part of me that needed love, right? That needed like that's like getting my needs met to feel safe and secure. I knew that the biggest part of me was filling that through significance. And I knew I was meeting that significance through having panic attacks, through having anxiety, through having depression. And again, I wasn't judging myself for it, right? I was just like, okay, that's not me though. I wasn't like choosing to have a panic attack and be like, come save me, husband, right? So I wasn't choosing to do that, but I knew my subconscious was doing that. I knew my subconscious was like, you're not getting enough love from your husband. Guess what we can do? Panic attack, right? And that's how I reasoned it to myself and my brain. And I was like, it's okay, Cherokee. It's okay that that's what was happening. We're going to fucking fix that shit real quick. And because it was my need for significance, I refused to tell Tyler half of what I was going through. I gave him like as little as I possibly could for him to help me. And I remember him saying, he's like, you don't need to tell me what you're going through. And I was like, good, because I don't fucking want to. As soon as I found out about the significance thing, I was like, I don't want you to know what I'm going through. Because the last thing I need is to feel like I'm getting my need for significance met through you knowing about all the shit that I've been going through. Like, I don't want to feel pity from you or sympathy from you because that's just going to fuel the fire more. So I was like, no, just give me tips. I was like, I have anxiety. I'm not telling you why. Just come on, give them to me. Right. And then it was after, you could say that everything got better, whatever, that I told him things that I was going through. And even to this day, I guarantee you there's something I've said on the Zoom call so far that he did not know. Because yeah, two things. Because I'm so like about not fueling that need anymore because I'm so aware of it. And it's actually brought a beautiful thing into my life where I am able to give to others more because I'm so focused on not feeling that need for significance to myself, I've found that I'm actually a very loving person and I can give that love tenfold to other people when I'm not fueling that need for significance by having these panic attacks and these anxieties. And I can be there more for my daughter and I can be there more for my husband, and that like fills me up more than I could ever imagine. But I needed to heal that other part and teach my body that meeting my need for significance in the way that I was meeting it was fucking bullshit. And so just to kind of touch on what Tyler asked me about, like, how did you learn to be happy even though you have all this shit going on, right? I would say the biggest thing, and no one's going to want to hear this because it just sounds dumb and simple and bullshitty. Go ahead, Tyler. Sorry.
You caught that. I was just gonna say, because and I'm gonna bring you back to that. I'm gonna make sure we trigger that thought. We're not gonna lose it. I'm not sure what Cher is gonna say right now, but the biggest thing that I wanted to know about this particular thing about like emotions versus what she went through / does go through is because I know one of the biggest things that everyone here is experiencing is like you're feeling massive levels of anxiety because of some health conditions and or life circumstances. And one thing I told Cherokee, like we got on this 5 minutes before to kind of coordinate what we were going to do here, is there is a difference between our life circumstances and then how we're feeling about the circumstances. And I'm going off cuff here. Cher didn't know I was going to say this, but I've seen her do almost a backflip, not in the impressive way, because she was in the middle of going through a seizure. She was talking to me and her husband, and then she shut up and then just flop. And it wasn't pretty to see, but I don't say this to embarrass her. She knows that. I say it because it's fucking miraculous to this day that she goes through so much and she just feels like, I'm not even going to put up air quotes for happy. I would say you do, but that's for you to say. Anyway, the fact that she feels these ways and goes through that shit, I'm going to give her the floor back. But that's just, I'm impressed by it. That's all.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. But you should be impressed with yourself because I wouldn't have been here without you. Like, in your tools, because they're simple tools and I just use them constantly all the fucking time. But the biggest thing is I could worry about my health. I could worry about my health. I could worry about the impending doom that could be 1 year, 2 years, 3 years from now. And I'm gonna be completely honest. And I told Tyler that I was gonna make this announcement on the Zoom call, just to give you guys context. So the health stuff that I was going through between the vertigo and the seizures and everything like that, it took doctors years to figure out what it was. And then they did a backflip after that. And we're just like, actually, JK, we don't actually know what it is. Sorry. You're basically just going to end up using a walker for the rest of your life, but we can't figure out what's wrong with you. Right. And I had been hospitalized for days and this is what they came up with. Right. And so they were just like, we don't know, but we're going to give you this fun label that basically kind of sort of explains what's going on. So they gave me conversion disorder and functional neurological disorder, attached with non-epileptic seizures, and just kept throwing stuff. Hemiplegic migraines, I got that one on my record too. It's just super fun, so many labels. And they just kept throwing shit at me. But basically the main thing that they were trying to get across to me, they're like, yeah, it's just gonna keep getting worse and you're just gonna end up in a wheelchair. Sorry. It's not really anything we can do. They tried putting me on meds and I lost a year of my memory because of it. Just gone. It's gone. And that in and of itself would probably spiral people into some type of depression, or at least you would think maybe possibly it could, right? But there's nothing I can fucking do about it. And the point, I know I've said this multiple times, but the point I'm trying to get across is I went through so much fucking shit that I was so tired of like not being in control of things that why the fuck, excuse my language, but why the fuck would I lose control of managing my emotions when I don't have control of any of this other shit, right? I don't have control of when I have a seizure. I really don't. I don't have control of when I can't get up out of a chair. I don't have control of whether I can go to the gym today because my vertigo got so bad that I fell on the stairs and now I have to sit down and take a nap, right? It kills me inside sometimes to have to like, I'm ready for the gym and then all of a sudden some random symptom happens and I'm just like, cool, today's a fucking couch day. That is not fun. It's not fun in the moment, but I can't control a lot of this shit, but I can control being happy. And being happy is so effing important to me that I will do almost anything to get that and maintain it. But you know what's cool is I don't have to do almost anything to get it because I can literally just be happy. I can just choose. Earlier, or I think it was the other day, someone had asked me, just like Tyler asked you on the beginning of the Zoom call. Someone asked me, how's your day going? And like instinctually, right, out of like an old habit, I was about to say, it's going okay. Because honestly, I had a really rough day with my symptoms. I wasn't feeling the best. And I realized that if someone were to ask me how my week went, I probably would have said the same thing. And I was like, fuck. And my initial like response to that, like, oh, I had an okay week. Cherokee, you need to do better. Like, what are you not doing that your week is like just okay, you know? And so I went and did something that made me happy, right? Something that I enjoyed. And I was like, the reason I didn't enjoy my week wasn't because of my symptoms. The reason I didn't enjoy my week is because how I was fucking reacting to them. Right. And this is coming from someone who is immobile, I will say, not a majority of the time, but at least 40 to 50% of the time because of this shit. And the announcement that I was going to make on this Zoom, I come across very like tough love and like very blunt sometimes. So just understand that about me. The announcement I was going to make is I finally got a diagnosis for what I have, and it's not fun. It's not something that's going to go away. So they were testing for cancer, and I do not have cancer, which is fantastic. I don't have brain cancer, which is what they thought I had. I have multiple sclerosis, and it is very far along. I have a lot of brain damage, and I have to now go through more tests to see how much damage there is to my spine. And this is not something that's going to go away. I'm going to have it for the rest of my life, and I might possibly have to get chemotherapy for it, which is something Tyler did not know either. And I get emotional talking about this because it is an emotional topic, of course. Tyler, I'm going to be okay. It is an emotional topic, of course, but I could choose to, shrink down and just doom myself, which I'm sure Tyler's talked about this a lot, how much your mental like health can contribute to your physical health. And I do truly believe that. And if I'm over here worrying, please excuse my stuttering, another fun symptom. If I'm over here wondering or worrying, I should say, worrying about what's going to happen. Am I going to end up with a walker? Am I going to end up in a wheelchair, even though I take really good care of myself? Is my husband going to have to take care of myself? Oh my God, is my marriage going to make it through this? Like if I was just sitting here thinking about all of this, one, I do believe that we put energy into the universe when we say these things, whether it be out loud or in our heads, right? And I don't want to convince my brain of anything that I don't want. And I'm going to say that again because it's really important. And this is how I've been living my life for the last 3 years. I don't want to convince myself of a life that I don't want. I'm not going to convince myself that I'm going to be in a wheelchair because I don't want to fucking be in a wheelchair. I'm not going to convince myself that my marriage is going to end because my husband's going to get enough of me because I don't want that to happen. Right? What I want to happen is to travel the world and to experience life and to have the best damn marriage of my life and to do things with my kid. And I almost said kids. I have one kid. To do thing with my kid and to, explore and be happy and continue my bodybuilding or even just continue fitness if I can't continue bodybuilding because of this. Right? And so those are the things that I want. So why would I focus on the things that I don't want and feed those things energy, especially when they're going to make me feel a way that I don't want to feel? The biggest unlock that I've had over the last few years, you guys, is that I just get to choose. I just get to choose. I get to choose how I feel. I get to choose how I react to things. And again, this is a scary diagnosis. I don't know what's going to happen. I have to go, like the next year of my life is going to be quote unquote very rough. Right. But me and my husband are leaving tomorrow for a 5-week road trip. We're going to be living out of our car and exploring the world together. And we made the decision to do that because I'm not going to let this like keep me from living my life. And my husband and myself understand both that with my condition, yeah, there's probably going to be some obstacles along the way. But if I were going to sit here and like fucking worry about that shit, right? Then I would probably never go on the trip in the first place. And I'd probably miss out on amazing experiences and bonding time with my husband. Tyler, I'm going to let you chime in if you're able to, because I feel like I'm going on a rant. I'm sweating.
No, it's all good.
I'm talking.
Believe me when I say they're all used to me going on rants. Emily Davis, not yet, but she will. Some of them are newer than others, but no. Couple things I wanted to bring up. I want to open it up to a Q&A here in a moment because I think majority of them will have a question. If you guys are courageous enough to, like, and I'm begging that if you have even what you might deem as a stupid question or something you might not be able to answer, just take advantage of this. But one thing I wanted to mention before that, how many of you, raise your hand if you have never seen me through social media or our one-on-one sessions, if you have them. How many of you have never seen me cry before? Raise your hand. Okay.
You just did.
Well, outside of this time. Good call. This is what I wanted to say though, and I gotta admit, I don't show it enough. Well, mostly because I just don't go there. But what I wanted to say, which I'm glad that I actually had that moment here, and I decided in my own mind to change my own state, my own head. This shit works like this when we apply it, is that we're absolutely allowed to feel anything we want. And I want to say this probably for the first time in my whole 7 years doing this. I don't say it enough because it's not the kind of the message I'm trying to get across. My message is that we can feel whatever the fuck we want and feel as fulfilled as we. I'm gonna go on a rant. Bring it back. Hold on. My whole piece is that we can feel whatever it is we want. And I just want everyone to know that if they're going through anxiety attacks, etc., the really bad stuff, we can bring those down, no matter how bad it is. And this is why I wanted Cherokee on here. But the reason I brought up me crying is because if anyone was curious, I still feel. And I seriously wanted to mention that because not my live streams or my reels or nothing shows that. And I just wanted to show you guys that even if I say like we can change our state that fast, I'm not joking. However, feel what you guys need to feel for a moment. Like I want you to, like for the first time, I've never actually said this out loud. I can tell because this feels new. Feel everything. Just know you have control over it. That's all I wanted to mention. But if there's any questions, I would please love for you to unmute. There's not too many of us here. You're not going to talk over each other. I would love for you guys to ask her anything that's on your mind, on your heart, on your soul, spirit, whatever you want to call it. Clearly, I am suddenly in a very feeling emotional state. I love this.
Yeah.
Really
Really quick, I just want to say like 100%, and I would never tell anybody in a million years because I mean, I'm not as good at this as Tyler is, not even close. But I have studied a lot of what he's studied. I've obviously been friends with him for a very long time. And again, like it's very important to feel those like sad feelings sometimes. And they still come up for me. I'm not like never sad. I mean, when I got the call that I have MS, I was more angry. But I let myself feel that, right? Because it would have been bad if I just stifled it and pushed it down and went on with my life and then exploded later, right? Or ruminated over it. I think when we stifle our emotions, we tend to ruminate over it more silently, right? Because we're not letting ourselves experience that emotion, but we're letting ourselves experience the thought. And the thought is going to ruminate until we explode with that emotion. So, and that's just my opinion. That's not something Tyler taught me. But yeah, like feel, guys. Like don't be afraid to feel. Just understand, like Tyler said, like you do have control over it and you can choose to be like, okay. And I've told myself this and I told Tyler this. Sorry, there's a fruit fly in here. I told Tyler this. You know, when I'm experiencing emotion like very like random, like the anger I felt when I got that doctor's call, I let myself feel it for a second. And then when I was like annoyed at how long it was taking for me to feel it, I was like, okay, I'm done now. Like I'll get angry and be like, okay, I'm done being angry because I just am impatient, number one. But number two, because we can't control our emotions that easily. And my favorite tactic is literally saying to myself, because I like to add comedy into how I manage my emotions, and you guys can do it however you want. But I like to add comedy, and I'll be feeling sad. And I'm just like, okay, yeah, I'm done now. I have stuff to do. And that's how I do it. And because it makes me laugh too, the fact that I do that, and it just helps so much more with me changing my state. So I would love if you guys had questions, and I promise no question is too stupid or too little. And also you will not offend me at all. I promise, no matter what you ask.
And before questions, I'll add one last comment because I think this is very, 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 very important. The first time Cher, that's what we call our short form, the first time Cher ever, like for the first time outside of our coaching session, the first time she ever like snapped out of her anxiety attack, she messaged me later and said, I felt fucking stupid when I did it because I just realized if I could do it now, I could have done that for so many years. And I want to bring this up because the first time you guys learn to actually go from like, or whatever it looks like, to just good, you might have the same thing. And I want you to know that that's normal because we feel like, okay, I have this skill. Why could I have not just done that the whole time? You didn't have the skill. That's why. So it's
It's a
okay for the first time you do that
fucking
to be like, oh,
skill
shit.
set. That's literally all it is. It's a
You just have to
skill.
build the skill. That's all it is. So anyone have any questions? And if not questions, give a thought or two. Like whatever you guys have, feel free to say whatever you got to say, ask whatever you got to ask. Anyone? Raise your hand, unmute yourself.
I'll ask a question. I'm not sure if can you hear me or am I muted?
I can hear you.
I've got a chronic illness as well. So I've got rheumatoid arthritis, which are the same drugs is treated for MS as well. But I've chosen not to take any of the drugs. But I do have some neurological issues on top of that, which everything gets put down to anxiety. So how do you stop a symptom that you've got that obviously would have been your MS, but at the time you wouldn't have known it was MS? How do you stop that then rolling into a panic attack? Because obviously sometimes, say like the vertigo, I get extreme vertigo, where I can't even walk straight. How do you then stop that specific symptom then setting off a panic attack or an anxiety attack?
So good question, first of all, and I super appreciate you asking. So I'll just go ahead and say it. A lot of people, I'm not saying necessarily you or anybody on this call, but a lot of people, they try to somehow magically, not intentionally or consciously, but they try to subconsciously stop the symptom in order to stop the anxiety. And I'm not saying that you are doing this or that you're consciously doing this, but that's something that I did in the past. I would get a symptom like a vertigo or something like that, or even a seizure. And you would think like, how could you possibly think that you could just talk yourself out of a seizure, right? But I would get my aura for a seizure and I would be like, oh, and I would start to feel the anxiety. And I was like, don't have the seizure, don't have the seizure, don't have the seizure, don't have the seizure, right? And because I was doing that, it just made the seizure worse, right? And so with that, and again, like, I'm not a medical doctor and I'm not doing what Tyler does. But with me, if I know I'm having a symptom or I'm about to have a symptom or whatever it is, I know that there's no getting out of it. Like, I just know that if I'm having a seizure or if I have vertigo, I know that there's no it not happening. I know that it's going to happen. So with me, I talk to myself very much the same way when my emotions happen, to be completely honest with me. When it starts to happen, I'm just like, okay, you're having vertigo. You need to sit down. Or, okay, you're having vertigo. This sucks. And I affirm myself, right? Sometimes it's just nice to hear someone say that sucks. And so I tell it myself because sometimes there's not someone else around to be like, that sucks, Cherokee. So I'll say to myself, I'm like, this sucks, Cherokee. And I feel it. I feel the vertigo. And I know that sucks because vertigo is sucky. And it is what it is, but I don't want to add emotion on top of that. It's going to make me feel shittier. And so I allow myself to feel the symptom because instead of stiffening when the symptom comes, because that's one of the first things that we do, especially if we associate our symptoms with the anxiety, right? We've trained ourselves to get anxiety subconsciously, I will add, trained ourselves to get anxiety when we're having these symptoms, or if we feel like we're having these symptoms. Again, I'm not saying this relates to you directly, but if we feel like we're having these symptoms and we're not getting the love and attention that we need because we feel alone from having these symptoms, a lot of the times our anxiety is a byproduct of that. I was trying to think the word, a byproduct of that, because it's almost like a cry for help. Even if no one's in the room, it's almost like a cry for help. Like, fuck, I'm having vertigo. This sucks. I want someone to recognize the fact that I'm going through something, right? And so understanding, and Tyler can teach you that part of it, understanding like those byproducts of how we're serving ourselves through those emotions is going to help a lot too. And Tyler, I know you have something more eloquent to add to
okay.
this than how I'm explaining it.
So
But
the only
say
other,
if you're accepting the symptom and you're like acknowledging, yep, this is what it is, so I'm not going to push it back. I'm going to accept it and feel it, and that's past. How do you then deal with the anxiety of being scared that it comes back, or you're by yourself when it comes back, etc., etc.?
Did you want to say something first, Tyler, or do you?
The aftermath.
yeah, I was going to say something, but I think that's a good question for you to answer first, and I'll say my piece out.
Yeah. So with that, I think it's really important to understand after you have a symptom, you know, what is the, you know, and I want to ask, not, I don't want to say delicately, but properly. I mean, the vertigo happens. Let's just say it's vertigo that we're talking about. The vertigo happens. So are you having anxiety about vertigo coming back?
I guess because it's, you know, obviously when you get it, it's so bad. So not just coming back, but obviously being by yourself.
Have
The
you ever
thought,
had vertigo by yourself?
sorry,
Have you ever had vertigo when you were by yourself?
yeah, really bad. Yeah,
What happened?
like I had a really bad spell last night, and it threw my heart rate up to like 130, and I could not breathe. Like I felt like I couldn't. But they all just keep putting it down to anxiety.
Yeah. So did you
But,
feel anxiety in that moment when you were having vertigo when you were by yourself?
well, no, because my husband was home. So not so much, but I calmed myself down and then put myself to bed. But then today, sorry, I'm just scared. Today I'm just scared to be by myself.
Okay, we understand. That's why we're here.
I understand that feeling, and that's exactly why Tyler brought me on here because I have had seizures when I was alone. I have hit my head having a seizure when I was alone. I've had a seizure alone when Tyler was 10 feet from me and has had to catch me from hitting my head. I've had seizures in public by myself when my husband was deployed. So I definitely understand that that is a very, very scary thing. And this is going to sound cliche as fucking fuck. And I apologize that it's going to sound cliche and possibly a little corny. However, because I've had so many of those experiences, very scary experiences of, you know, hitting my head or having a seizure in public or by myself completely alone. I understand, and this might sound morbid and corny at the same time. I understand that shit's gonna happen and life's gonna happen. And I know this is not what a lot of people want to hear, but one of my favorite quotes of all time is that worrying means you suffer twice. And what that means is that our anxiety after we have an attack or while we're having an attack or when we're thinking about what if we have an attack when we're alone, whatever your attack might be for your medical symptoms, you are putting yourself through more torture, through more suffering than you would if you were to just have vertigo when you were by yourself. And I know that the idea of that is can be scary. And I totally get that because when it happens, it can be scary in the moment. But when it does happen, it's going to be scary. It's going to be. It's just going to be scary, right? Depending on what's going on. We don't have to make it scary right now, though, when it's not happening. And that's the biggest piece that I've had to adopt is that I'm not going to put myself. And again, this isn't just like you just say that to yourself and it's done. This is something that Tyler can take you through and teach you because it is something you have to work up. I won't say work up to, but learn how to do, right? But my biggest thing, the biggest takeaway I've gotten from Tyler is that I would rather only suffer later than suffer now too. Because
Yeah, I guess
suffering later might be inevitable, but I can choose to suffer now.
I find it more scarier because I've got a daughter with 21 disabilities, including epilepsy. So I guess when those moments happen, then I'm scared to be with her by myself.
So I want to throw just a couple things in here. And by the way, how many just raise your hand, including you, Amanda? I know it says iPhone, but that's not her birthday, I promise. Unless it was, and that'd be really fucking cool. I'm not gonna lie. we're gonna name our kids iPhone now. How many of you are getting a little bit of comfort and interest, if not anything else, from having Cher talk about all this right now? Just raise your hand. Okay, so everyone's getting value. I love this. I love you, and I love you all. Thank you for being here. We're gonna have this keep going. I just want to mention a couple things. In my language of how I would have languaged what Cherokee said is that sometimes our life conditions, aka a medical condition that we have, or we get a divorce, or whatever the other life challenges are that come our way, like life isn't fucking easy. Having lost my child at 18, I now have the privilege to say that. And when we fight life, like when we have a condition or something that has happened in our life, and we're trying to fight it, like, God, I just fucking wish it wasn't like this, internally, if not out externally, we do make the thing worse. And so happiness comes when our life conditions, like how things actually are in our life, match our expectations of it. And this is why I always talk about our beliefs are what create our emotions. Because if I believe it must be this way, I won't fucking be happy until it's this way, damn it. And I'm displaying the emotion that we truthfully feel. How many feel that way when you get that annoyed when shit's going out of control? Truthfully, whether you express it or not, right? So we get so annoyed and angry, anxious. If in order to be happy, this life has to be this way, but it's actually this way, we're going to be in such an emotional up and down battle, because that's what happens when we feel out of control. So it's not an elegant answer, but it is the answer. We need to learn to change our beliefs about how life needs to be. Now, on a practical standpoint, because Amanda, I want to get this answer for you in case you don't have one. I want to be very practical and strategic about this. Your daughter is adorable. Cher, we all know that there's 6 human needs. So how do you prepare mentally, or like literally, I guess physically, how do you prepare mentally, emotionally, and physically, knowing that you could be out and about without Jeremy, that's her husband, by the way, and know that if something happens, like how do you mentally make sure you're ready for that? And how do you do it, like an actual, if it happens, like what do you do? How do you prepare for that? Because I think that would be helpful as well.
Yeah. So I want you guys to notice one thing, and I'm not doing it on purpose. I promise it's not intentional. I actually just noticed it myself. Whenever Tyler asks me a question like that, how do you do this, or how do you deal with this? Even when he's asking me a question about something scary, I smile. And the reason I smile is because whenever I think of these things, it makes me happy. And you're like, how the fuck could you think of being out in public by yourself and having a seizure? How could you associate happiness with this? And I just do, because I've empowered myself so much with these things that Tyler's asking me. And what I mean by that is, like, I truly believe in associations, like, and Tyler's talked about this too, is like how you associate one thing to another. And I will damn well tell you right now, and Tyler knows this about me, I do not associate my condition with weakness. I do not associate the way that my life is or will potentially be with being a bad mother. I do not associate it with being a bad wife. I used to in the past. I do not anymore. And just changing those associations and then the beliefs that Tyler was talking about as well has changed my life. I don't think about, what if I drive? Other people think about it. Other people, how could you, what if something happens to you when you're out in public? I'm like, I don't know. I guess I'll deal with it when it happens. But genuinely, and this probably isn't the answer that Tyler wanted, genuinely, that's how I see it. Now, I would never, of course, put myself in a situation where I put my daughter in danger, or purposely put myself in danger, or anything like that, of course, right? But again, like, if you want to ask how I prepare for situations like that, I prepare for situations like that having full confidence in my own abilities to handle anything that happens, including if, and again, I don't ruminate on these things, but just as an example, including if I were to be in a grocery store, have a seizure, hit my head on a shelf, someone come to my aid, I have to be carried out in an ambulance, no one can get a hold of my husband, no one knows where I am. You know what I'm saying? That could possibly happen, but holy fuck, could you imagine if I just sat here and thought of that very specific scenario every time I was about to go to the grocery store, that's fucking exhausting. And as someone who has MS now, I don't have a whole lot of fucking energy to give, and I definitely don't have a lot of fucks to give, but that's another story. I don't have a whole lot of energy to give to thoughts like that. I just don't. I'm really tired all the time, and I don't want to give energy to thoughts like that. And so if you ask me how I prepare to go out in public, like to go to the grocery store by myself, I prepare by going and doing it as if I was a perfectly normal, and I'm sure a lot of you can understand what I mean by that, person, because I would never want anybody to treat me like I was not a normal person. And I truly believe that I'm a strong person. I'm a good wife, and this is rooted in my identity, which Tyler can teach you about as well. I'm a strong person. I'm an amazing wife. I am an amazing mother. I'm really good at grocery shopping. And I'm just really, really good at being by myself, even with all this shit. And someone could come up to me and be like, that's not true. And I'd be like, well, fuck you. I believe it's true. Right. And so all of these things connect to each other. Your belief systems about yourself, how you identify yourself, right? Because if you're constantly identifying yourself as stuttering, if you're constantly identifying yourself as a depressed person, as an anxious person, as a person with MS, as a person with PTSD, you're going to feel depressed and anxious and like you're having more flashbacks than usual because all of a sudden you have a PTSD diagnosis, right? And that was the biggest thing when I got my diagnosis for MS. My husband was like, don't you dare start acting like an MS person. And I was like, I will not, because that is the last thing I want to do is convince my body that something is wrong with it now, more so than before, and that all of a sudden I'm just going to start crumbling under the weight of my new diagnosis. I refuse to root my identity in that shit. Like I just do. I refuse to see myself that way. I refuse to act that way. And because I have such a strong identity and belief system rooted, and when I say rooted, I mean like I feel things in my body when I say things. When I say like I am strong, like I feel like that shit is like in my chest, like a dagger, and it's like rooted into my spine. Like I am fucking strong. I'm a great mother. I'm a great wife. I can do anything I fucking want. Like I fucking feel that in my chest, you guys, because I have such a strong belief system. And I'm not gonna lie, we're going on this 5-week trip tomorrow, and I don't honestly know half of what we're gonna be fucking doing. It's like very up in the air. Anything could happen, right? And my dog's not gonna be with me, which I'm very sad about. And it's just like all this unknown and all this shit. And it's but my identity, my belief system that no matter what, I could get kidnapped. And I just have this deep-rooted belief system, and Tyler knows this, is like, I'll be fine. I just have this deep-rooted belief system that I'm gonna be okay. And I choose to adopt that. Go ahead.
No, I love all of that. I want to say I think that this is fantastic coming from someone who is like, I don't want to say so much more in the position of all these beautiful women who have not acknowledged everyone. Hi, Kristen. How you doing? I did wanted to make sure everyone was acknowledged here. I think sometimes it's like when you hear these things coming from someone who like, first of all, I'm a guy. Secondly, I'm a very different situation than a lot of these women, amazing women here. But when someone's been through like to the T, to the T of what they've gone through, and they fit the fucking part of my, I'm excited here, fit the archetype of all of the things, it sinks in at a different level. And I will not have my ego hurt when I ask this and everyone answers how I believe they will. How many of you are feeling that this is hitting you a little bit different in a positive way than when I talk about it solely? And I'm okay if you say yes. Good. I'm actually glad. The reason is because, like, if I didn't think it would, that I wouldn't have fucking brought her here. But one thing I did want to mention about that, we haven't all gone into the certain level, the certain types of belief systems. We will, okay? However, what I wanted to say is the one slight, like tiny 2 millimeter, like baby pattern that she didn't say out loud, but if you've heard it, when I bring it to your attention, you'll all recognize it. Because raise your hand if you've heard me talk about this before, okay? And just do it spontaneously when you hear it. The one thing that Cher is talking about in like 90% of all this is that she only focuses on what's in her control, and she lets go of the rest. Like that. Oh, you guys caught it. Nice. Good. Jen, or sorry, Kristen, did you hear it? She focuses on what's in her control. Now, that is not always an easy thing to do, but it's necessary. It's necessary. And the one thing, it's a very small example that I want to give. And if anyone else has questions, let's wrap that one up. But I want everyone's questions answered. I forgot about this until Cher was talking. I had a moment, I think 3 or 4 years ago, before I was like getting really a lot better with these skills I'm teaching you ladies, where I'm talking to my mom in the kitchen, and I don't know what it was to this day. It hasn't happened again, thankfully. But I'm talking to her. I'm going to be dramatic on purpose because I want to show you sincerely what I did. I'm standing up like this, and as I'm talking to her out of nowhere, not only did I lose all my balance, but I lost, like, I couldn't speak. Just all of the since my nervous system just went for a shit for a second. And I shit you not, I scared the shit out of her because I'm talking with her and I'm laughing, we're having fun, and out of nowhere I went, and then I caught the wall, and I just like waited because I'm like, what the fuck just happened? And I just stood there, and my mom's like, and I'm like, so then I went to the couch, she brought me water, and I'm like, I feel okay. I don't know what the fuck happened. And then I'm not kidding. I moved on. Actually, I got my car, went to do groceries, which I think any sane person would have been like, I'm going to have mom go do the groceries. I'm going to wait this out tonight or whatever. But I'm not sane, and I invite all of you to join the dark side, not be sane with me. Because to live our lives inside the house or inside of like whatever our version of the comfort zone is, it just doesn't seem very fulfilling. So I love what you shared so far. Amanda, has this hit home what Cherokee said to you to any degree?
It has.
I'm not saying
obviously. Yeah, no, it has. It's a bit different because my anxiety is a little bit different having Miller, my daughter with disability. So that's a little bit more scarier, I guess.
Sure.
To be my mum if anything happens. But yeah, I guess it's the unknown scary.
That's one of my favorite sayings I've lived by since all of this stuff. And I get I'm not gonna lie, guys, I get excited when shit happens to me in my life because then I think, I have a story to tell about how I got through it. But the quality of our life really is in direct proportion to the amount of uncertainty we can comfortably handle. I don't want to be routine. Sorry?
I just say it's hard too because your symptoms stop you from doing things.
That's a Cherokee. That's a Cherokee comment.
Yeah, I mean, they do stop you from doing things, very much so. And they're not going to not stop me from doing things sometimes. So I do things when they're not. And again, I'm trying to make sure I say this in a way that's like, I feel you. I fucking feel you. I really do. They are going to stop you from doing things sometimes. And so when they're not actively stopping you from doing things, then you got to do things. But when they're not stopping us from actively doing things, we're focusing on the times that they stopped us from actively doing things, or they're going to stop us from actively doing things, we stop ourselves from actively doing things when we could have had the chance to actively do things. And I know that was a lot of me saying actively do things. I apologize, but hopefully I got my point across at that. I get it, right? And I just want to say this really quick. And I want to say this delicately as well. The unknown is different for everybody, but it's also the same. And I truly believe that. The unknown is different for everybody because everyone has their own version of what the unknown is. But the unknown is also the same because it is the unknown. Everyone has unknowns in their life. We're really, really good at comparing our unknowns to other people and comparing our circumstances to other people. And that is something I've worked very, very hard over the years not to do because, again, everyone has different circumstances, but also everyone has different experiences of those circumstances. And what I like to focus on is my experience of the circumstance instead of the circumstance itself. Because there's someone out there right now that did get a diagnosis for brain cancer, right? And I got the diagnosis for MS, right? So whoever the person that's handing these cards out, they handed me the MS one and they handed the brain cancer one to someone else, however it works, right? There is someone out they're dealing with that and they have their own set of unknowns and I have my own set of unknowns. And I'm not saying like, oh, well, it doesn't matter that they have cancer or I have them. Like, I'm not saying that it doesn't matter. You know, I'm not an uncompassionate person. I consider myself a very compassionate person. Another thing I've rooted in my identity, right? But what I'm saying is that I'm going to experience my circumstances, my diagnosis, the way I want to fucking experience that shit. I'm not going to let my emotions, right? Because I don't know how to use these skill sets that Tyler is or will teach you, right? Like, I'm going to create my experience with these things, but to the best of my ability. I'm going to curate my own experience of these circumstances because the circumstances stand alone. The way I respond to them and I experience those circumstances is a whole other thing.
That's huge.
Does that make sense?
One thing that I would love if you would all do, and I know Sherry, you got to go. Do you have possibly time for one more if there is, and like super brief?
Sorry,
If you-
you're good. Go ahead. I was checking to see where my husband was with my daughter. You're good. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. What I would love is if everyone would write down like one little nugget that you've gotten from what Cher has said, either in her own story and or the answers to Amanda, just so I know what you took out of that. If you could write that in the chat in Zoom, that'd be awesome. And if anyone has any other question to ask her, I would love if you guys do that. Like, I'm getting value from this because I got to tell you, one of the things I've done in my life, I have mastered, in my opinion, one area of my life. Can anyone guess what that area is? You can unmute and say it if you want.
I find it's more than one, no?
Oh, you're so sweet. I'd like to say the one area I've mastered is my emotions.
Okay,
And,
yeah.
Makes sense, right? I'm mastering lots of other areas, but the one that I'm like, I got it, is that. But what I wanted to say is when it comes to any other area of life, I like learning from people who've done it and who have the results that I want, if not like have done the most crazy things and gotten through them. I'm like, how did you do that? You've made $1 billion? How do you do that? I'd like to have $1 billion. You have amazing six-pack? How do you do that? Cher, she's also done that. It's just like all the things. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because I brought Cher on because I know she has a set of experiences that I cannot possibly understand, but you guys understand it and she's been through it and is getting through it. That's why I wanted her here. So if you guys have any other questions at all, please feel free to ask them. Let's see who can top Amanda's question. Or just ask a basic one like, I stubbed my toe today. It fucking hurts. What? Pardon?
I could probably top it again. Saying, for instance, having a chronic illness, so you're accepting the condition that you've got and you're accepting the symptoms that you've got. But then after that, obviously, I guess I've accepted my chronic illness, but I can't accept or stop at the moment my panic attacks, which has now made me agoraphobic.
What was the question, just so I'm clear?
I
just
guess
heard a comment.
Having your chronic illness,
Mhm.
of being able to fight the anxiety and panic side of it to be able to still live.
So just so I'm clear, because there's a little bit of breaking up, you've accepted the physical illness, but how do you fight the anxiety of having it?
No, of just so separating the two, I guess.
Like, how do you do that?
Yeah, like you obviously separating your chronic illness from then your panic and your anxiety.
Okay, love that. So first answer I'm going to give you on this is, and I'm going to make these just quicker just to make sure that. Oh, I thought I thought you went into your profile picture. I was like, so still. Just so she can answer any other questions, but I want to say the first thing that all of us collectively have to do is stop saying my anxiety or panic attacks, like, because that unconsciously makes it our identity. And how many of you heard me say, who's anxiety, who's panic? And then we all laugh about it and move on for 5 seconds. We need to like break the habit because it's not something we are, it's something we do. And that brings me to the second answer, which is we need to get into the habit of realizing how we're creating, not the physical symptoms and vertigo, not all of that, but the emotion. We have to notice what we're doing. and there's a meaning we're creating out of it, right? We're believing, oh my God, I'm so out of control of my life because of this symptom, or oh my God, I look so awkward and embarrassing, or it's just what meaning that we're giving it, plus what we're doing with our body is what creates the emotion. So the first answer is simply just, this is not my panic attack or my anxiety attack. It's a feeling I'm creating. The second one is learning how I'm creating it. And the second that we start to slightly notice it come up, we shut it down. And that one does take discipline. Like all change does happen in a moment, but the moment is when we discipline the emotion, not suppress it, change it. So we'll come back to that one in a moment, I promise, especially if there's no other questions. But does anyone have a question? Any other questions? Natalie, I feel like you might. I might be wrong.
No, no. The only thing is that I'm in awe of Cherokee. I mean, Cherokee. I wish I had your. I don't know how you say it in English. Morale.
Describe
you know,
it.
Like this strength.
Well, first of all, thank you. I really do appreciate that very much
Well,
because, like
come
I
on.
said, no
Come
matter
on.
no matter who you are, it's always nice to hear someone say that sucks and you're doing a good job, right? It doesn't matter who you are or how far in your healing journey you are. It's always nice to hear someone say that sucks and damn, you're doing a good job. So I really do appreciate that comment a lot, because I still need it, right? But I'm not a inherently strong person. I wish you could have seen me 10 years ago. I was pathetic in the way I see myself now. Right? I wasn't strong physically or emotionally at all.
No, but you're disciplined.
I didn't used to be. I promise I wasn't born disciplined.
So
No,
I
but
want
you know what I mean? Like,
there's
Yeah, no,
something I just want to mention to all of us about this, because this is such a beautiful back and forth banter. I'm not gonna lie, I'm feeling very good inside. I love that I brought her here, and there'll be a lot more people coming, for the record, not today. But what's amazing about this is, can anyone tell me how muscle in general, just the concept of muscle, whatever comes to your mind, how is muscle created? How is strength created?
By discipline.
practicing.
Discipline. Discipline and practice, yes, but what are we disciplining and practicing? What is the actual like action
Repetition.
of
Exercise.
of
Thing.
The muscle.
there it is. So
Oh.
specifically though, and this is the part none of us want to hear, especially when it's the emotional side of it, because it's a lot easier to like lift a weight. We're like, oh, this is not emotionally difficult, just fucking sore. Is anytime we push against unbelievable resistance. This is why like booty bands don't work very well, because there's no resistance in the muscle. That's a whole other thing. That's supposed to be a metaphor. I'm not a fitness trainer, but we need to push against unbelievable resistance and we'll build the muscle. Right. And so I think what Cher was just going to say here is that like she started in a joking way, in a pathetic way, right? Like no mental, emotional strength, but through doing so many things and like doing the work, as we call it here, or like going through enough traumatic shit, she's now gotten to that place. It looks like you want to say something, Cher.
Yeah, and I was about to say, and this is so important, and I'll try to leave it off with this. I know I said 6 o'clock, but I want to make sure that I give as much value as possible. It wasn't all of the trauma that I went through that made me a strong person. Again, it was how I repeated, how I handled it, how I responded to it, right? Because someone can go through trauma after trauma after trauma after trauma, and it makes them very weak because they're not pushing against it. They're not learning skill sets to get through it. And some people, to be very frank, don't fucking want to, even when they say that they do. I'll be very honest, and this is another point that I wanted to make. You have to legitimately want to rid yourself of anxiety. And I see the biggest problem with a lot of people is they say they want to get rid of their anxiety. They say they want to get rid of their panic attacks. And you're probably thinking, why on earth would anybody want this? And again, I'm putting my ego aside and telling you that there was a time where I said I wanted to get rid of my anxiety. but I really didn't because my anxiety was giving me something. My anxiety was giving me attention. My anxiety was giving me love. And so I said I wanted to get rid of it, but for the longest time, I didn't want to put in the work to get rid of it because I didn't actually want to get rid of it. And if you want to get rid of your anxiety, you have to have a really honest conversation with yourself and say, do I really want to get rid of this? Or is there something holding me back where I feel like I'm going to lose this if I get rid of my anxiety and I'm not willing to lose it? We have to have a really honest conversation with ourselves. And I really press all of you to have that conversation with yourself. And the next time that you are feeling a way that you don't want to feel, such as anxiety or depression, I want you to immediately go in front of a mirror or pull out your phone and put it on selfie mode. And I want you to look at yourself in the face. And I want you to see what you look like in the mirror. Because I tell you what, every time I feel a type of way, anxiety, sad, angry, right? It's very hard to look at myself in the mirror because I have to face myself with the bullshit face that I'm putting on. I have to face myself with me looking angry. I have to face myself with me looking sad. And I'm just like, really, girl? Like, really? You're wondering why you're not happy and you're sitting here like this. You're wondering why you're not happy. And you're just like, doing this thing, right? Like, it's so much our body language, guys, but it's also like you have to, it's me going on a little bit of a rant, but you have to want to not have anxiety. You really, really do. And when I contacted Tyler, I finally wanted to not fucking have it anymore. Finally, after 20 plus years of bullshitting myself about it. Go ahead,
The
Tyler.
biggest thing that it's an interesting, I won't even say funny because it's not funny, but it is interesting pattern I've noticed over the last 7 years of having this business. Some people, not everyone, of course, because even you guys, not the same, but some people, probably I could count on two hands, so not that many, have contacted me, went through the whole rigmarole process that every single one of you on this call have been through, including the people on the replay. Hello. And I might be calling some people out in the future, who knows? But if it's you, then this is true, is that they're like, no, just it seems like too much or too much time, too much money, too much, whatever, too much X, which is all fine. And then they have a conversation with me a month, a year, 2 years later, and they're like, dude, don't even care what I have to do. My spouse just handed me divorce papers. My bank account is officially in the negatives. My health is officially X. My child doesn't want to talk to me anymore. My mother just died. I need help. And it's fucking sucks for me because I'm like, I wanted to help before that shit. But the unfortunate part is, how many of you, raise your hand, have heard me talk about how people, including myself, including this face here, people only change when they're either beyond magically, crazily inspired about something they want to move towards, or when a serious dump truck level of pain hits their life emotionally. How many of you have heard me talk about that? Right? Just needing that leverage, the reason. We usually think we have the reason, but like, no, we're getting close to the reason. We're getting close to the pain. So it's not fun. And this isn't like Jen or Veronica or Amanda or Natalie or whoever else is on replay. Like, this is human beings. We don't move unless there's like a to our life, or there's like a thing that we're going after. It's very challenging because it's so we're finding where we go. It's very challenging.
Don't wait for life to suck too much. It sucks enough now. Learn the skills now. I promise you, I did the same thing that Tyler's saying. I waited until I was having issues in my marriage and until my bank account started dipping because my business was suffering under the weight of my panic attacks and depression. Do not wait for that day because it sucks more than what you're going through right now. And if you are having a hard time getting like doing the homework that Tyler gives you, for example, ask yourself this question. It must not suck that much yet. Be real with yourself.
So one thing I wanted to mention about this, only because I know some people, not necessarily on this call right now, but there's a couple of us, but for the people on the replay as well, if you've gotten this far, one thing Cher didn't mention, I'm not a business coach. But if I remember correctly, Cher told me that her business in the first 4 weeks working together, just because she got out of that state, that emotional state, it tripled. I didn't even
tripled in 4 weeks.
and I didn't even mention now I could coach someone in business, but that's beside the point because I've been through it enough. But like, my point is just like, it's more than just about the anxiety. It's about your quality of life as well. So if there's any other questions, let's make it quick. But if not, fucking love.
Thank you.
I genuinely hope I was able to give you value with a combination of my story, my compassion, and also my tough love. That's how I teach my own clients. So I really hope it resonated, and I do genuinely hope that no matter what you're going through, whether it be emotional, mental, or physical, that you guys just have the best and most like fulfilling life possible by learning these skill sets and just sending you all the love. Like I would absorb everything that every single one of you guys are going through if I could, and just take it on my own shoulders just to make it easy for you. I really would. Tyler's full like, no, they have to learn skill sets. I genuinely would. I've only been on the Zoom call with you guys for an hour and I don't know any of you personally, but I have so much love for you. And I genuinely hope that like everything just starts shifting in the best direction possible for you, even just starting tonight.
I love you all. Like,
Oh yeah.
one of the
I'll
reasons
pray for you.
Thank
one
you.
of the reasons I wanted to create this community is because of how much love I have for like humanity, and obviously all of you are part of that. No shit. But it's like, what is waiting for all of us on the other side of that terrifying fucking fear? That so scary fear, which by the way is all anxiety really is everything you've ever wanted in your life, plus things that you don't even understand could even happen yet. That's a whole other conversation, but life is waiting for you. And like,
Yeah.
we're over here and we're like, you got this, come on, you got this.
It's so corny, but it's so true. Life is so I'm gonna cry. Life is so fucking beautiful. On the
I
other
am crying.
side of that fucking anxiety, guys, I fucking
But I'm
promise
not.
you, it gets so much better when you learn the skill sets to get over the anxiety. Like there's so much that's going wrong in my life right now, and I would be lying if I said I wasn't terrified, but my life is so fucking beautiful, and I'm so excited for the next 1, 5, 10, 15, 20, 80 years of my life. Like I cannot even express how much I love my life and how beautiful it is as much as I go through on a daily basis. And I just want to help you guys like push you over the fence and be like, come on, prance with me, because it really is just fucking beautiful. Okay, I'm done. I promise I'm done talking now.
And
My
my
last comment.
question before you go though, what treatment plan have you got for your MS?
I don't have one yet, unfortunately, because they're still assessing the damage. But right now, there's a good possibility that I'll have to get chemotherapy. So we're just waiting.
Yeah.
One of the other women, she logged off, Emily, she messaged me directly, I think it was by accident, to tell me for you to get in contact with her, something to do with chemo as well. But obviously you guys are all on the right track. So by the way, last thing I will say as well, because it doesn't seem like there's any other questions. If there are, I can forward them to share just so she has them, and obviously I'll relay them back to you. Number one is, this is why I have other guest expert that I fucking cherish with my life, who I trust. Like, you women are everything to me outside of like my girlfriend and my best friends and everything. Like, you guys are my extended family. Not even kidding. Like, Cher knows how much I care about my clients. Like, you guys aren't clients to me. You're my family. And if I don't trust them with my life, they're not going to speak to you guys. So I'm only going to have the best people talking about these things. I have mastered emotions like no one else on this planet, as far as I'm concerned. There's only a little bit of ego in that. But for those things that like you guys need to get taken care of, I'll be your resource for that by bringing the people who are the best at what they do in that. So I want to make sure you guys are taken care of in every way possible. The last thing I want to say is next month's theme is going to be relationship, because whether people here are, whether the women here are going through anxiety for health reasons, money reasons, this reason, that reason, everybody's affected by a relationship here with their emotions. And I'm curious, Cher, would you maybe like to talk about relationship? Because you might have started to master that area too, and the way that I taught it. So if you're up for it, we'll have you next month.
Yes, I would love to. I remember our first interview about relationships. You interviewed me and my husband.
That's before you hired me too.
Yeah, that was fun. Yes, I would absolutely love to come talk about relationships because, you know, kind of biased, but I have the best one. So.
They're honestly amazing. And by the way, if you want to do that, have Jeremy come on too, because I know he'd love that, because you guys got to see this from a male perspective too. But we've kind of gone over the topic. At
Way
this point.
over. It's
How's
okay.
everyone feeling? Good about this? Good. Super glad you all made it. Like beyond, don't even understand. I'm so passionate about this and I want to help you all. And we're gonna do that. So I'm gonna get what you fucking came here for. I love you
You
all.
actually do feel good when you get off this call. You should go jump up and down and scream and laugh or something. Don't be like, yeah, it was good.
It was great.
Like, go get excited, damn it.
Yes.
It was good.
Yes. All right. Guys, we will chat with you real soon. Cher, thank you so much for coming on. I fucking love you. And everyone, I'm so happy that you got insights. I see smiles. What? I see smiles.
trying
And that's, oh, perfect.
I love
I
you.
like to end this call. Everyone feeling good. Keep in
Thank
mind,
you.
our experience of life is completely within our control emotionally. And you can have this is my last sentence that I'm going to hit off. So just hear me now. You can have the cars, the boats, the women, the men, the marriage, the this, the that, whatever like amazing looks like to you, because it's all different. I don't judge. But if we have shitty emotions, which is like the only thing that's really in our control, we have nothing. Like that's our quality of life. So we got to get this part down. And you guys are on the right path, I promise you. So love you all. We'll chat with you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, hold on,
Oh my God.
It's taking a picture.
There we go.
I'm so basic with the peace sign. All right. Bye.